Welcome to Fantastic Females, our adventure to finding the mythical island of freedom together. I'm Kalyani.
And I'm Rupali. We are your next door finance experts sharing our experiences in the world of money and energetics.
Welcome to this week's episode 22. And today we're going to be talking about AI, artificial intelligence. It's all around us. It's really the hot topic in pop culture, on social media. I did some reels around this topic on my social media handle recently as well, and there was a lot of interest, engagement, questions. So, Rupali and I thought we'll share our thoughts with our community today.
Yes, I think it's such a big topic. Everywhere you read about, like on LinkedIn or like any platform that you access your information, AI is such a big topic. I think while it's always been a big topic, I think it's bigger because of the likes of something like ChatGPT, right? That's just
Yeah.
completely blown up, and I've had various discussions with different people about their thoughts on it, be it parents and their children using it for school, be it authors, be it, I think while it kind of, it takes time to process of what the implication of this kind of thing is, I do think it's really such a big step in the right direction for just efficiency, for how things are done, and we're here to discuss how that impacts our lives and whether it takes away from us or not, or adds to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Rupali, but I find myself a lot of times being very pro status quo. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be very conservative about accepting change. I think if I was in our parents' generation, I would have resisted the mobile phones quite a lot. I still am pretty apprehensive about letting my son use it, use other forms of technology as well. So it takes me a while to get up to speed with new technology, its implications, and it's something that's good to be aware of about yourself. So this has been one of those things that I thought, okay, fine, it has been coming. We have heard about the Google glasses. I don't know if you
Yes.
know about that. The virtual reality thing, the big kind of
Yeah.
eye tool. I don't know what to call it. That device I don't like very much, and it just makes me feel like we're going from evolving from the animal species. We're going towards being robots.
Yes, doesn't it make you think of Will Smith's movie, iRobot or
Yeah,
something where
exactly.
it doesn't really end well?
Exactly. And so many things in our lives, I find, have imitated sci fi movies. One that comes to mind is Minority Report. Like they had all these fancy screens and stuff. Back in the day, I was like, oh my God, what is he doing with his hands? And we can actually do that now in our daily lives with our usual devices. I think there's a bit of that resistance. And when ChatGPT was coming up in November last year, I thought, oh, it's just another joke. But the way it has taken on because of its capability is quite something. It's not something that you can ignore or laugh off now, right?
Yeah, I think actually it's very exciting in terms of being able to really use it to propel you in the right direction without having to, take as much time as you would have. So, for example, one of the cases that I was reading about is, as an author, what does that mean? Obviously, people are concerned, creativity and all of that, but these languages lack the emotion. They may touch upon it, but they lack the emotion. Um, they lack the context. They lack, the skills to write something that lands sharp. So while it's a great tool for like brainstorming ideas with yourself, it's like having like a assistant that just gives ideas and then you kind of construct it. I think that then speeds it up. So the thing I read was the one of the guys who tested it. He's like, well, it gave me what I needed, what I would have come up with by myself in half an hour or an hour. It gave it to me within 5 minutes. And so if you're able to then use the rest of the time to be creative, why not?
Yeah, then it's a proper value add in our lives, right? Let's kind of track back a little before we go into more of the implications to understand what ChatGPT is. There's been a recent kind of public exchange war battle against Google because ChatGPT is owned by Microsoft. So yeah, let's go into that a little.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting to see these big guys played out.
I love it.
So, kind of it's like a soapy that we watch. Um, and with regards to obviously Google is also acting in they call it BARD, have they? And so they're putting their system together while most of these AI websites do refer to they use the OpenAI system, which is where they draw on
The data from
they draw their data from
Yeah.
it. So they do use OpenAI from where they draw their data, and it is ultimately coded. It's not a human, and so they rely on some kind of reference point. And with Google coming up and feeling threatened by the likes of Microsoft because of ChatGPT, I mean, look at ChatGPT. Not many people have heard of Bard until very recently, and so the way it's kind of hurt their stock market, the way it's played on sentiment, it's just so surprising because I, as a user, would not go to Bing to search anything or Yahoo. I go to Google.
Yeah.
Even to say I'm searching something, we say I'm Googling it.
Exactly, it's become a verb in our urban dictionary now, and I think the whole thing is such a drama playing out in the public space, and this is the perfect example of any chat we've had before on this platform or otherwise about sentiments being illogical in the market in the short run for sure. So just to share some numbers, Google has 92% of market share in the search engine market, which is why, like we said, we all commonly say, let's Google it. If my devices choose to change the search browser, I Google a way to come back to Google because it's very annoying to be on another search browser. So, in that sense, we know that they have a solid ecosystem, not just the search engine that leads into Google's business. And there is a significant competitive advantage or moat, as people tend to call it. And in that sense, there is not much of a threat. But ChatGPT, the way I see it, has had the first mover advantage despite Google being the more proactive player in the market on AI, on the AI front, at least for the last decade. So, Microsoft, which has then taken over ChatGPT, has played a good, sensible, smart move, I would say, to be the first mover in the market, even though the data only is updated until 2021, which is a big restriction for ChatGPT. But now anything that Google does seems like they are catching up, which must be a very difficult thing for them to accept and work with. And Bard AI is still not available while we're recording this episode. It's going to be available. They've only released some information, and it's only going to be available in a few weeks. So that's kind of unfortunate, I suppose, for Google. But it doesn't mean that it's any less than. And the Microsoft CEO announcing that it's going to integrate ChatGPT into all of its search function and other programs is what led to the immediate kind of loss of confidence, quote unquote, in the market by investors in Google share, which, like we said, is totally illogical because none of us use Microsoft Edge. Most of us would probably not be using Microsoft Edge as a browser, Bing as a search engine, Hotmail for their emails, like Hotmail entities I had before. I've redirected everything to Google myself. So
yeah, exactly. They've got Outlook now, but
Yeah.
and people are using Outlook, but I think it's still not as big as Gmail. I
Yes.
mean, Gmail is it's always been ahead of the curve when it comes to features and functionality.
Exactly, and the whole ecosystem leading into it.
Yes.
And a lot of businesses are now moving to the Google Docs ecosystem, Google Office ecosystem as well, because of the auto saving functions, collaborative working, and so many other comparable features, right? So, leaving kind of the business analysis side of it aside, we all are pretty aware of Google's competitive advantage.
Yeah, I think maybe before we go into the conversation around what it means for us going forward, let me just quickly highlight what ChatGPT is and what does GPT
Yeah.
stand for and so forth. It's an app built by OpenAI, and GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And what this means is how the information comes together is it uses a neural network to predict text that should come up. And so what it does is instead of words, it refers to things that are called tokens, which are then constructed by putting together a reference of 175 billion parameters, and then it allows your prompt, which is what you input into the chat option for it to generate. It then allows your prompt to guide it to generate something. And so the power of something like this being put together with a search engine is that while a search engine is referring to existing websites, existing content, AI and ChatGPT or any other form of AI is actually creating based on existing information. So it actually has a lot of reference points that it's collating within one output, and that's where the efficiency comes, where you don't have to search 20 websites to get the information you want. It combines it in the best way it knows how, and then obviously your kind of you have to then decide what way to go about it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to play around with it, but I was looking at creating some captions for a post once, and I just thought, there's so much talk about ChatGPT. Let me play around with it, and it came up with a really good starting point. I think that's the crux of it. It came up with a really good starting point that made me think of a few key points and gave me that structure. I could not copy paste use it. And like I said, that's probably the crux of the whole thing, that it gives you direction that is thought provoking and gets you started, but I don't think it's at a level where we would be able to trust it 100%. One thing that it was actually really good at, I was checking the itinerary. I was checking it for an itinerary for Bali for
wow.
7 days. For you, not for me. But that was really good. It came up with a really good suggestion.
Not bad.
But again, you'd have to qualify it with locations, with what works for you. So it's a starting point.
Yeah, it is definitely. I think one way you can use this is you get people that are writers but have writer's block. You get people that are like myself who struggle writing things in the first place, and so it, like you said, it gives you a great starting point, and then it's like, oh yeah, right. It's like if you kind of think of the analogy of you talking with a friend and you're putting things out there, your friend coming back and you're like, oh yeah, let's do this, I can do this, or let me think about this, let me put this into place. It's that kind of dynamic with your laptop or your phone.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
Which is pretty cool because while it's making you less social, I suppose, it's still it's empowering you and giving you the tools you need to kind of, fill any gaps you may have at the moment.
Yes, which takes us to the very pertinent question of maybe other people like me who don't feel great about the change in various ways, questioning if it's going to take over our jobs, if it's going to replace human connection. You just said it's probably making us less social. So yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
I was also a bit hesitant, and this is why I really sat with it in terms of what does it mean. Okay, I have nieces and nephews, and I'm like, does that mean they're just going to write their school essays using that? So then what's the point? But I spoke to a parent, a friend of mine, and he was saying that he had a chat with his teen son and came up with the same conclusion that it's actually a great starting point because you cannot use it as it is. No teacher will accept that as it is. It may get there at some point. But for example, today I have a robot vacuum in my house. Does that mean that I don't need someone physically doing certain bits in the house? No. So it's a nice complementary tool to have. You use it as a tool, and so will we be replaced by AI? Probably not. But will we be replaced by people who use AI? Absolutely.
Yes, I think that's a great takeaway. People who do train themselves in AI will have an edge, and I think the schooling systems, the education systems will very quickly, if they want to carry on being successful, need to change their approach about reducing it from learning up a lot of things. A lot of our examinations, talking for myself, were purely based on memory power. So if you memorize things really well, you do really well in the exams. But application, as much as they'd like to believe was high, was not actually very high because there was so much filled in. So all of that is now going to become irrelevant because why would you want to mug things up when there was already Google and now you've got the next version of that as a virtual assistant that everyone's got in their pockets. So that definitely is going to become a skill in terms of knowing how to work with AI. But back to the point of whether it can replace human involvement, you gave a good example of working around the house. We both run businesses and we know how much we break our heads sometimes with our team members, and a lot of it. Cannot be replaced in terms of providing good customer service, which is so key for running a business. Robotic way of running a business is considered a negative thing, right? When you're not applying your mind, when you're not actually taking in all the information, I suppose connecting in an emotional way with either the business owner or the client. So there will always be a need for an intelligent human
Yes.
to be heading all the technology that's to our disposal, right? At our disposal.
Yeah, I think the part that's becoming a little more relevant in humans is, like you said, drawing on resources that you have, but then also really sharpening your EQ. EQ is a big term,
Very
over
much.
the past 5 to 10 years, but it's never been as relevant as today, I feel, because that's what humans bring to the table. We bring that EQ, an emotional quotient element, that connects to humans, whether it's your business, whether it's your job, whether it's your anything else. That's where you kind of really could stand
Yeah.
out.
But our education system, at least for our generation, I don't know if the current generation in, let's say, year one, two, just like really starting out in school would be any different. But for us, it was a very secondary thing that came as a side byproduct of being in a school environment where you'd have to deal with different kind of personalities, be in social situations that may be new to you or uncomfortable, but the big focus was very left brain, right? It's the analytical side.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And it was only that, which is very one-sided. So I'm hoping this is incentive to change on a mass level.
Yeah, I think I do see that drive from the courses I do and things like that, where people are trying to include the psychological side of it in schooling, because the neural pathways that get built through the softer skills do not even come close to. I mean, it's quite different with just mugging up and learning. So I see people that are so intelligent, they've been toppers, but when it comes to piecing a sentence together to communicate what they do or what they feel, they're not able to do
No.
that, and that is becoming a little bit more important.
Yes, and we know people from kind of our generation as well, people who didn't do so well traditionally in school academic terms, who are actually doing really well in in their careers. So that has been something that has been seen throughout, but it'll be nice to see a big kind of move towards having a more balanced education system. And back to jobs, I think jobs like jobs that are more mechanical, like data entry, programming, may probably become obsolete in the next 5 to 10 years. But things such as, people are talking about uh, poets, copywriters becoming obsolete now.
Yeah.
I don't think that artistic freedom or that input can be replaced ever by AI.
Yeah, I think these people will need to probably think about how to use such tools to really push themselves in the right direction or in a different direction to what they thought they'd be doing. I think when it comes to, I think because we talk about money and mindset, I think this mindset is really important in terms of not AI, right? And that's
Yeah.
what we are bringing to the table because AI cannot replicate any feelings, and so or even begin to understand it. So when you type something about what do you feel or what do you know, the response is straight away, I'm AI, I do not feel
Yes.
kind of response, right? So
Yes.
it's very clear. And then the
Yeah.
second thing is when it comes to investments, you know, when we think about what's the future for investments, what's the point of learning how to invest if AI can do that for you in the
Yeah.
future? I think my take on it's too early to tell, to be honest, but when I think there are a lot of quant-based funds. There are a lot of programmatic funds that are run by machines, by codes. But however, I think it is still important for you to understand at least the basics, so then you can choose how to go about it. And also when it comes to understanding people, because businesses are ultimately about people. So when you're thinking about even Google, who's doing this Bard and all of that, you want to understand the mindset where you said, you know, we just mentioned, we say, oh, I'll Google it. And it's such a common thing that habits are are difficult to change.
Yeah.
So that's the part where AI will not be able to replicate. So that's why understanding like the tools that you've got in your course, for example, would then empower someone to be able to understand what they need to, and then you can still go and invest with like a
Yeah.
quant.
You know, like even now, before the so-called public debate around ChatGPT, etc., has started, we have access to algo investing, robo investing, and all the fancy names, which is essentially what you said around the
Yes.
mathematical model. But my belief in investing comes down to something really simple, and it is what I have experienced, as mentioned before. If you don't understand what you're investing in, don't invest in it.
Yeah.
It really comes down to that because there's more than enough opportunities in the market in terms of different securities, in terms of different businesses, and there are more than enough things that you will be able to understand and have conviction towards. Please find that comfort spot instead of just going for investments that an algorithm suggests. So let's end with some stocks that we can suggest just as a reference point that are being spoken about a lot in conjunction with AI. The first one obviously is Microsoft, right?
Yes.
So in full disclosure, I will mention what I have positions in, and Microsoft is a position that I have that has been profitable and that I will continue to hold through all of this. And the next one is Google, which also I am invested in, or Alphabet as the ticker symbol, the company name is in the stock market. And I will have positions in both of these because I feel convinced about their business models. And in this AI war, either of them can win, and it's a win-win for me. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share.
Yeah, I think some of the other stocks are, you know, also tech related, given the discussion, obviously. I mean, Amazon is something that we're all very familiar with. A lot of these names are companies that we do use
Yes.
ourselves. And so it goes back to what you said. If you understand it, or even if, at least if you use it, you should be investing in it if you're looking to invest somewhere. And so Amazon is a big one because, I mean, I see myself processing orders on Amazon every 2 to 3 days at
Yeah.
least, to the point where it's frustrating when the doorbell rings because it's like, oh, what did I order now?
Yeah, I lose track easily.
So yeah, that's one. And then Meta actually is another one that we're all using. As the small businesses, people use them a lot for their ads and for their campaigns. Social media has become such a big thing when it comes to selling. And so Meta is obviously something that if you do have conviction on that as a form of marketing and putting information out there, then that's something you should be holding.
Exactly. I think Amazon and Meta are two really good examples of B2C end user kind of businesses. Both have been spending a lot of money, resources on understanding consumer behavior over all these years in the past, and they have a certain elements built in already, which are AI based in terms of suggesting friends, suggesting
Yeah.
products. Amazon has the physical Alexa products that are around in so many houses, and they're rumored to be listening to your conversations to know what you really want. So AI has been around us for a while, and these businesses are businesses we use every day. The last one is Nvidia, which may not be familiar for everyone, but they produce chips that are used in these technologies. So any technology, most technologies that would be using AI, such as Meta, that don't produce their own processing chips will probably be getting it from Nvidia, which is an industry leader. So those are some of our recommendations for you to do your due diligence on, and build some conviction upon.
So, with that, we bring this episode of our financial adventure to an end. Please follow us on all social media platforms at Fantastic Females.
Share this podcast, leave your reviews, your comments to support us on our journey. We are so passionate about making your lives more abundant with this information.
None of the information provided is financial advice, and Fantastic Females is not a financial advisor.
The information provided is educational only. It is general in nature and does not take into account your personal circumstances.
Please use your own due diligence before making any financial or investment decisions.